The movie begins with a stunning young woman named Ran putting on sunscreen and spraying it on the rest of her body. She does this to continue her regular activities while being safe from the effects of the sun. She owns a beauty salon that she runs out of a store that she rents, and she uses the money she makes to pay the rent in the shop. In addition, she has a hidden area behind the shop that is only accessible through the closet. She keeps all her sunscreen and animal blood in this room, which she takes for food. Later, she prepares herself for a walk outside with complete protection and reaches a nearby meat store where she orders her regular meal. Since she is an aged vampire, she no longer takes human blood. Instead, she uses coupons to buy animal blood. The shop owner knows her well and worries about her health since she looks pale compared to last time. So the lady offers some more meat to her without realizing that she is a vampire who only drinks blood from the meat. Sometime later, she reaches home and prepares dinner for herself. Before drinking the blood, she gives the leftover meat to a cat. With a sudden gust of wind, the main door opens, and she hurriedly leaves the secret room to check outside. She then sees a fat lady, who is the new landlady. Suddenly, the landlady disappears, leaving a note of a 300% increase in her rent, which frustrates her. She then decides to boost her business by distributing flyers for her salon. While doing so, she comes across another male beautician who seems more professional. They then try to approach the same lady, and a fight ensues, but she wins in the end. However, the lady simply ignores her and leaves. When apologizing to the man, she notices a bill of $50,000 on the pavement. She then chases it and tries to pick it up to see that it is only a flyer. At this point, she discloses that she is a 500-year-old vampire and narrates how she lives in the human world, adapting to their developments. She claims that she doesn't know why she has not been able to save money even after 500 years. Later, she tiredly walks towards her shop in the late evening. On her way, she crosses paths with a young boy. After passing by, she smells a familiar scent and turns to check out the boy named Lee Son-yun. Lee, who has been in the United States for 6 months, smiles at her before leaving. The next day, Ran puts a menu board advertising discounts on the street outside her salon. She then goes inside to prepare herself, applying makeup while reminiscing on the scent she experienced for the first time in 500 years. The smell reminds her of Jin-ee, who first taught her to apply makeup. Suddenly, Lee shows up at her salon and asks for her service so that he can audition for a role of a modern boy. While she tries to resist the scent by blocking her nose, it still reaches her, and she starts losing control over herself. She then takes it as if she is falling for him. However, she puts a bead of cotton in her nose to avoid the smell and starts emphasizing how good a beautician she is. Soon, she starts applying makeup to Lee, wherein she is proud of her work. After she has successfully turned Lee into a handsome modern boy, a bead falls from her nose, and she starts losing herself because of the smell. Suddenly, the landlady shows up and calls Lee his son, to which Ran is surprised. The landlady wants Lee to focus on the real estate business. Ran and the landlady start fighting. On the other hand, Lee leaves for the audition as he sees an opportunity to escape the commotion. The landlady then asks Ran not to do makeup for her son, but she refuses. After all, he is her customer. After a few discussions, they eventually agreed on a deal. In return for waiving rent, she asks Ran to decline every time her son comes for makeup. She then asks for the makeup fee, as her son still needs to pay. Later, Ran is on another flyer spree when the lady at the meat shop in a restaurant calls her. They then start talking about the sudden rise in rent and how far they were ahead from when they started. The meat shop lady calls her baby face of all the baby faces in the town's pride as she has never aged a bit. However, Ran feels lonely and disturbed by the thought that she can never die. After that, she leaves for her home, where she meets Lee. He offers her the money he forgot to pay and starts revealing his feelings by giving her a chance to kiss him, but she refuses. Lee then innocently tempts her by pulling on her dress and kissing her, which she enjoys. Still, she goes back to a flashback where she and Jin-ee are debating about converting her into a vampire so they can live together forever. However, she discloses that there is a possibility that it will be fatal to her. She then snaps out of it and pushes Lee away. He crashes into the wall, and Ran tells him she promised his mother not to do his makeup and tells him not to come again. She rushes in and closes the door, so Lee starts banging on the door, shouting that she is about to kiss him. She then opens the door, asks him to be quiet, and starts interrogating him, thinking Jin-ee's soul is inside his body, which is inaccurate. Upon a failed attempt, she drops to her bed to avoid conversation, saying she has no more energy left. Suddenly, Lee's mother comes banging on the door, looking for him. He asks Ran to help him hide from his mother, so she takes him inside the secret room, and both of them hide away from his mother. The landlady barges in and starts checking the shop. She opens the closet and tries to see any opening to another compartment. However, she is interrupted by a call about one of the markets and leaves. The next day, Rand starts thinking about Jin-E and tries to figure out how Lee relates to her previous love affair. Soon, Lee shows up at her house, and she decides to take him to a hospital for a blood test to clarify her doubt about Lee being related to her beloved Jin-E. After getting the test done, she asks the nurse if she can get a bit of Lee's blood, which the nurse refuses. However, Lee barges in and says he will help her with the treatment if she has some terminal illness. On their way home, she thinks she may have a terminal disease, which surprises him. She then starts asking about his family tree and if he had any ancestors named Wang. On the other hand, Lee doesn't understand why she is asking such questions. Suddenly, she worries that Jin-E may not be mentioned in the family tree. Later, since no one can understand her, she leaves. In the meantime, the landlady is sitting in a small room and attempting to find ways to evict Rand. However, when she checks Rand's document, stating that she was born in 1957, the landlady realizes something fishy is going on. After that, she ponders how she could have such healthy skin, given that she was born in 1957. The following day, Lee attends an audition, and Rand decides to see him perform and compare it to Jin-E's. Later, the audition begins, and Lee starts acting. On the other hand, she is dissatisfied with his acting abilities and hurries out of the theater and apologizes to Jin-E, claiming that it is the worst thing she has ever witnessed in her 500 years of life. During this time, the landlady enters Rand's home and looks through her salon for anything suspicious. After a while, she successfully located the hidden area in the closet and took a few cosmetics and animal blood bottles before leaving. When Rand is on her way home, Lee joins her and tells her he has another audition tomorrow for a vampire role. When they reach their place, Lee starts practicing the role of a vampire, and Rand tries to help him out, but he doesn't do well. Hopelessly, she starts talking about Jin-E and her nature, which has changed her forever. Then, she talks about out a few lines about being a vampire and being lonely for all eternity. Lee is then moved by this and says he will give his best. But then they discover that the actual audition is not of a vampire but of a neighbor boy to the vampire. During this time, Rand's landlady begins to doubt her identity as a vampire. Hence, she begins to prepare an anti-vampire arsenal. Meanwhile, Lee gets ready for the audition while still in Rand's house. After hearing only a few sentences from Lee, she lets herself be captivated by all he has to say and ultimately decides to kiss him. During this time, she suddenly sucks his blood, and this causes him to pass out. She has an instant discomfort of regret as she thinks back to the painful time in the past when Jin-E was also lost in the same way. The process of becoming a vampire by drinking a person's blood is complicated and carries the risk of the human dying during the transition. Without any second thoughts, she then rushes Lee to the hospital, forgetting to apply any sunscreen or other protection from the sun. She does her best, even though she is burning all the way, but eventually ends up breaking down in the middle of the road and calling for help. The meat shop owner sees Rand carrying Lee and assists the youngster in getting to a hospital by placing him in the shopping cart. Meanwhile, she is left on the road while burning. Fortunately, Lee survives and rushes to Rand's salon to wait for her. After a long waiting period, he enters the store and continues waiting for her there. After some time has passed, she breaks the silence by apologizing to him for what happened. After that, she and Rand begin talking about Rand's life. He is surprised to learn that there is a discrepancy in age between them of 480 years, but she claims that she is 499 years older than he is. Later, they changed their topic and started talking about positive things. On the other hand, the landlady storms in out of nowhere and starts ranting at Lee about why he is there. After that, the landlady calls Rand and asks her to come over to prove to Lee that she is a vampire. But she doesn't give in and gets up to start packing her things. On the other hand, Lee implores her mother not to throw her out. He argues that a vampire's existence is difficult because they do not have someone with whom they can converse or communicate. At some point, he takes Rand's hand and urges her that she shouldn't leave. After that, a flashback reveals that the landlady brought Rand to her home while she was burning in the scorching heat. The landlady sees that Rand's skin revitalizes as she is away from the sun. Later, when she comes back to consciousness, the landlady informs her that she has been dreaming about becoming a vampire. Returning to the current day, the landlady once more requests that she be turned into a vampire, expressing her wish to exist forever in some way. Rand informs her about the drawbacks of it, including the possibility that she would end up hurting the person she loves, to which the landlady responds that it is unfortunate to live as a human. After some time, the landlady approaches her with an offer to drop the rent and, seemingly out of the blue, mentions that she has lowered the rent for everyone. She continues to tell her that she is only giving her a day to decide, and then she leaves. Meanwhile, before Lee leaves, He makes one last effort to get Rand to recognize his feelings for her. She claims it is painful for her since he makes her think about Jin-ee. He tells her that even when his mother discovered her identity, she didn't think of leaving because she wanted to stay around him. She responds that it isn't like that and that she is there because of her rent and deposits. After that, she hands him the remains of Jin-ee that she possesses. Lee then tells her that he will always be right there. After hearing that, she expresses gratitude to him for ensuring he would not leave her. The next day, Rand reflects on the fact that the human world is in a state of perpetual change, and she realizes that there are likely many aspects of it that she is still ignorant of. Lee starts passing out flyers for Rand's salon, offering them to girls by using his good looks and charming personality to get their attention. Later, Rand makes a beeline for him, seizes his hand, and drags him away because she is envious that Lee is getting close to other girls. After some time, they decide to go to dinner at her house. Rand recognizes the smell of the landlady upon her return and realizes that she must have been there not too long ago because she senses her scent. Later, Rand presents a hairpin to the woman who works in the butcher shop when he returns outside. The movie ends with a girl named Jin-ee asking about Rand. Unknowingly at the same time, Rand leaves the shop without the two of them meeting again.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel Recap Central HQ, and click the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Thank you for your support and encouragement.